Rose stood frozen in front of Khan, the huge and ferocious lion, her breath hitched as his golden eyes locked onto hers. Then, with a sudden movement, Khan charged towards her, making everyone hold their breath. Rose began to regret. How could Khan remember her after 8 years apart, when he had the instincts of a dangerous wild animal? For many years, Khan was under the dedicated care of Rose. Growing up under her watchful eye, the two formed an unbreakable bond. But when Rose suddenly had to leave, their paths diverged, and they were separated for nearly a decade. When Rose unexpectedly announced her return, there was a mixture of hope and apprehension. Rose's return, however, left everyone at the sanctuary stunned. Before her life changed dramatically, Rose had worked as a tour guide, leading safaris across America. While she had countless memorable adventures, none could compare to what awaited her on the fateful day she discovered Khan. During one of her tours, Rose's group marveled at a herd of giraffes before venturing deeper into lion territory. The majestic lionesses came into view, some accompanied by their cubs, but an ominous roar echoed through the area, signaling danger. Poachers were nearby. As her passengers sat in confusion, Rose sprang into action, guiding the vehicle toward the sounds. Upon arriving, the poachers had already fled, but the area was marked by their interference. Lions typically avoid places they perceive as dangerous, and this would force the pride to abandon the site. While inspecting tire tracks left behind, Rose heard a faint whimper. She followed the sound and found a tiger cub, abandoned and alone. The cub's mother had likely fled the danger, leaving her offspring vulnerable. Realizing the cub wouldn't survive without help, Rose felt an instant connection and decided to intervene. She named the cub Khan after her late grandfather and brought him to a wildlife sanctuary in Colorado. Quitting her job as a tour guide, Rose poured her energy into raising Khan. The sanctuary, a tranquil haven for many animals, became their home. From the moment Khan arrived, his playful demeanor and curiosity captured everyone's hearts. Rose became his primary caregiver, dedicating her days to teaching him essential survival skills. Watching him grow from a fragile cub into a powerful young lion solidified her deep maternal love for him. Over the years, Khan flourished, eventually moving to a larger enclosure where he could interact with other lions. Despite her increasing responsibilities at the sanctuary, Rose made time for daily visits, ensuring Khan received the attention he needed. Their bond was evident in their playful routines, with Khan often chasing and pouncing on Rose in their familiar games. These moments brought joy to Rose, who felt a sense of pride in shaping Khan into the magnificent lion he was becoming. But life took an unexpected turn when Rose's mother, Sarah, fell gravely ill. Balancing her duties as Khan's caretaker and as her mother's support became overwhelming. When Sarah's condition worsened, requiring specialized care in Chicago, Rose made the agonizing decision to leave the sanctuary and, more heartbreakingly, say goodbye to Khan. The farewell was heart-wrenching. Tears streamed down Rose's face as she parted ways with Khan, hoping he would adapt to a new caretaker. Unbeknownst to her, Khan struggled deeply with her absence. Refusing food and rejecting attempts at interaction, Khan became isolated, his once vibrant coat dulling as his health declined. Despite the efforts of John and other sanctuary staff, Khan's despondency persisted, leaving everyone concerned for his well-being. Khan roared fiercely at anyone who came near, rejecting food and refusing to engage in any playful activities. The staff at the sanctuary in Colorado grew increasingly worried about his physical and emotional health, knowing just how essential Rose had been in his life. Determined to ease Khan's distress, they tried introducing other lionesses and various caretakers, but Khan showed no interest. Over time, his condition worsened. He lost weight, and his once lustrous coat grew dull. Despite bringing in new caretakers in hopes of uplifting the despondent lion, Khan refused to accept them. He remained detached and unresponsive, making it evident that his early separation from his natural environment had left him without the skills to survive in the wild. With Rose showing no signs of returning, the sanctuary faced a tough situation. Khan's resistance to all attempts at socialization left the staff with no choice but to let him be. He rarely appeared in public, choosing isolation and displaying a profound sadness that was difficult for the team to witness. Meanwhile, Rose, now living in Chicago to care for her mother, Sarah, stayed updated about Khan's condition. Though she was heartbroken over his struggles, her responsibility to her mother kept her from returning to Colorado. After 8 years, Sarah passed away, and though it was a sorrowful moment, it marked a turning point in Rose's life. With her obligations in Chicago behind her, she decided to return to Colorado, excited by the prospect of reconnecting with Khan. Yet, Rose knew it wouldn't be easy. Reports from the sanctuary indicated that Khan had become increasingly isolated, wary of human interaction, and even displayed occasional aggression. Despite being uncertain whether Khan would still remember her, Rose was determined to try. She reached out to the sanctuary, where the staff, thrilled to hear from her, shared updates about Khan's condition. Though they cautioned her about the potential risks, Rose remained resolute in her decision to see her old friend. The following week, Rose returned to the sanctuary. She spent several days mentally preparing for the reunion, unsure of what to expect. Upon arriving, the staff greeted her warmly and showed her the expanded facility, complete with new animals and amenities. However, Rose's focus remained on Khan. From a distance, she spotted him perched on a rock, looking regal, yet undeniably lonely. Michael, the park manager, walked beside her as they approached the enclosure. "Rose, I have to warn you," he said cautiously. "Khan hasn't reacted well to anyone in years. He's growling at anyone who even gets close. Are you sure about this?" Rose took a deep breath, her gaze fixed on Khan. "I have to try, Michael. He meant so much to me, and I hope he still remembers me." Michael hesitated but nodded. "Okay, but we'll be ready if anything goes wrong. Just don't get too close right away." Unfazed, Rose stepped forward, her heart pounding in her chest. At first, Khan seemed unaware of her presence, his golden eyes scanning the horizon. As she inched closer, she spoke softly, her voice trembling with emotion. "Khan, it's me," she whispered. "It's Rose. Do you remember?" Khan's head slowly turned toward her, his intense gaze locking onto hers. Rose felt her breath hitch as she stood just a few feet away. Unsure if he recognized her, she took another step forward. "I'm back," she said, her voice steadying. "I've missed you so much." Michael stood behind her, clutching the keys to the enclosure nervously. "Be careful, Rose," he murmured. When the staff cautiously opened the gate, Rose stepped inside, her nerves evident. She reminded herself that, despite their shared past, Khan was still a wild animal. The tension in the air was palpable as everyone watched, holding their breath. Khan began pacing near a row of trees, his intense gaze fixed on Rose. Suddenly, he stopped and turned toward her. The moment was charged with suspense. Would Khan attack, or would he remember her? To everyone's astonishment, Khan rushed toward Rose, not with aggression, but with sheer joy. He leaped at her, careful to retract his claws, knocking her to the ground and enthusiastically licking her face. It became clear that Khan not only remembered Rose, but was overjoyed to be reunited with her. The caretakers and onlookers were moved to tears, witnessing the profound bond between the lion and his caretaker. Rose wrapped her arms around Khan's massive frame, tears streaming down her face as she whispered, "I missed you so much." Her voice broke with emotion as she apologized for taking so long to return. Rose could sense the warmth in Khan's otherwise mysterious expression, fully realizing that their bond was still intact. That day, Rose devoted her time to playing with Khan, brushing his golden coat, and reconnecting with him. Being near him filled her with immense happiness and solidified her promise to always stay by his side. Referring to Khan as her son, Rose acknowledged she had become a mother figure to him. In the following weeks, Rose visited the Colorado sanctuary frequently, spending hours with Khan. She would share stories, gently groom him, and stroll around his enclosure. Their connection was undeniable, a testament to their enduring bond. Watching Khan roll playfully on his back was like witnessing a giant 500-pound house cat, full of joy. Michael, the sanctuary manager, observed how Khan's demeanor improved over time. He became less defensive toward other caretakers and even began interacting with some of the other lions in the enclosure. Despite this progress, it was clear that his relationship with Rose was irreplaceable. Recognizing their special connection, Rose happily accepted her old position as caretaker, cherishing the time she spent with Khan. As the days passed, Rose and Khan grew closer than ever. Their 8-year separation no longer seemed to matter. Their bond remained unbroken, and Rose was certain they would never be apart again. Looking back, she had no regrets about the years spent caring for her mother, Sarah, in Chicago. That chapter of her life had been necessary, but now everything felt complete with Khan back in her life. There are days when I spend more time in Khan's enclosure than in my own home, Rose joked, laughing at how unique her life had become. At the end of each day, she gave Khan a big hug before leaving, always whispering, "See you tomorrow, my friend. You'll never be alone again." That's the story. But let's dive into another fascinating one. The mystery behind how 5 intelligent lions managed to break out of their enclosure at Colorado Wildlife Park has been unraveled thanks to new surveillance footage capturing the exact moment of their escape early in the morning on November 2nd, around 6:30 a.m. The video reveals lions, including Bella, Max, Duke, and an adult male named Leo, exploring the perimeter of the fence. The breakout began when one of the cubs slipped through a gap in the metal fence, soon followed by the others. The park immediately issued an emergency alert, and alarms echoed throughout the area. Chilling footage shows the lions pacing along the outer boundary of the fence, while a car and a pickup truck trailed them cautiously. The authorities eventually caught up and found Leo standing firmly in the middle of a road, refusing to budge. It became clear that Leo was protecting his cubs. His fear apparent, yet his bravery unmistakable. Following calls from Daisy, the lioness, and guidance from park staff, Leo finally returned to the enclosure. The lions stayed remarkably close to the fence during the ordeal. Rocky, the first to be sedated by the park's emergency response team, was handled safely. Bella followed shortly after, accompanied by Max. Leo, the adult male, took much longer to return to the enclosure, and Luna was the last to be guided back by the park's caretakers. The staff managed to secure the area just before the park opened to visitors later that day. An investigation revealed that the lions had been interacting with the fence for about 20 minutes before it gave way. At 6:40 a.m., the alarm was triggered, prompting the park to go into lockdown. Officials determined that a faulty clamp connecting the fence cables caused the failure, creating the opening that allowed the lions to escape. Repairs began immediately, with plans to upgrade the fence system to prevent future incidents. A family camping near the lion habitat was startled by a loud roar at 4 a.m. By 6:30 a.m., one of the lions had managed to escape through a break in the fence. 10 minutes later, at 6:40 a.m., the Colorado Wildlife Park issued a lockdown alert, instructing all staff, except for the lion keepers, to shelter in secure areas. By 6:50 a.m., approximately 50 guests were evacuated from their tents to a safe zone. At 6:55 a.m., the park staff successfully contained the situation and returned all 5 lions, Bella, Max, Duke, Leo, and Rocky, to their enclosure. At 8:52 a.m., the Colorado Wildlife Park released an official statement confirming the morning's emergency, explaining that the lions had breached their enclosure but were safely returned. They reassured the public that strict safety protocols had been followed, no injuries to visitors or staff occurred, and all animals were now back under close observation. The park announced it would reopen as scheduled, with updates provided as needed. Later that morning, at 10:30, park officials clarified that the escape was due to a gap in the fence. In a separate, unusual event captured on video, a woman in Boulder, Colorado, was seen casually strolling through the streets, carrying a lion cub. The sight immediately caught the attention of bystanders, some of whom recorded the bizarre moment. The short clip, uploaded online on Sunday, showed the lion cub wriggling and growling in her arms, clearly uncomfortable but not aggressive. Eyewitnesses reported that the woman seemed calm, even pausing occasionally to adjust her hold on the cub. After walking a short distance, she gently placed the cub down, allowing it to rest while she crouched next to it, petting it as though it were a domestic pet. Passers-by, however, were visibly alarmed, unsure of whether to intervene or simply keep their distance. According to reports, the lion cub had escaped from a private fence in a Boulder neighborhood earlier that day. When authorities were alerted, Jason Clark and his team from the local environmental agency responded quickly. Upon arrival, they found the woman still attempting to control the restless animal. Jason later shared that the situation could have escalated dangerously if the cub had felt threatened or if the woman had lost control. "We were lucky it was a cub and not a fully grown lion," he said. Despite the odd circumstances, the team worked efficiently to secure the cub, ensuring both the safety of the public and the animal. The woman, whose identity has not been disclosed, claimed she found the cub wandering near her property and thought it was her responsibility to return it to safety. However, officials reminded her that owning or attempting to handle exotic animals like lions is illegal in most parts of the United States, including Colorado, due to the inherent risks. Once the lion was safely returned to its enclosure, Jason and his team confirmed that no harm had come to anyone during the incident. However, the video sparked a wave of online debates, with some people praising the woman for stepping in and others criticizing her for recklessly handling such a potentially dangerous animal. The event has raised questions about regulations regarding the ownership and containment of exotic animals. Authorities are now investigating how the lion cub managed to escape and are reviewing the safety standards of the enclosure it came from. Meanwhile, the woman was given a warning and asked to refrain from any further involvement with the lion, leaving the task to professionals. Officials ensured the lion was safely returned to its enclosure and no harm came to the public during the incident. These stories are really inspiring, aren't they? Our journey through 3 stories highlights something truly profound. The powerful connection between humans and the wild. Nature's beauty is both awe-inspiring and humbling. But here's the reality. Nature needs our help. Habitats are shrinking, and too often, animals are forced into spaces that don't suit their needs. It's up to us to protect their homes, support conservation efforts, and ensure that future generations can marvel at these magnificent creatures in their natural environments. What's your take? How can we better coexist with nature? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that inspire change.